The massive chamber aboard the stellar Dominion flagship glowed with an eerie purple light. Captain James Miller stood alone on a circular platform, his blue Earth diplomatic corps uniform stark against the dark metal floor. He kept his back straight and his face calm, though sweat trickled down his spine. Before him loomed the 20-foot holographic image of Empress Vex, ruler of the largest empire the galaxy had ever known. "Human," the Empress said, her voice deep and cold. Her scaled face showed what Miller had learned to recognize as disgust. "Your time of independence ends." Miller had prepared for this meeting for months, but the sight of the Empress still made his heart race. Her body was covered in iridescent scales that shifted from deep blue to purple. The crown of bony plates on her head rose in agitation. Her 4 yellow eyes blinked sideways in turn, never all closing at once. "Empress Vex," Miller replied with a small bow. "Earth wishes to continue our peaceful trade agreements. We have honored all treaties." A rumbling sound came from the Empress, something between a laugh and a growl. "Peace is for equals. Your species is not our equal." The hologram shifted, showing a map of human space. Earth glowed blue at the center, with its 17 colony worlds spread across 20 light years. Red dots appeared, marking human defensive stations and ship positions. "The Dominion has watched you for 50 years, Vex continued. "Our spies have counted every ship, every weapon, every soldier. Your fleet has exactly 200 vessels. Impressive for such a young species, but nothing compared to Dominion might." The map zoomed out, revealing the vast stretch of Dominion, territory surrounding human space on 3 sides. Then thousands of red markers appeared, representing the Dominion fleet. Miller's mouth went dry at the display, not because it was frightening, but because it confirmed what Earth Command had suspected. The Dominion's intelligence was exactly as limited as they had hoped. "Your species has one standard rotation to surrender your worlds," the Empress declared. "Our armada of 5,000 ships stands ready. This is mercy. Accept our rule and your people may continue their existence as productive subjects." "And if we refuse?" Miller asked, already knowing the answer. Vex's upper lip curled, revealing teeth like polished black daggers. "Then we will take your worlds, anyway, and your people will serve as an example of the cost of defiance." A tall figure stepped into view beside the Empress, her military commander, Krell. His scales were darker, almost black, and his eyes were cold. "Our first attack fleet is already positioned," Krell stated. "Your outer colonies would fall within hours, Earth itself within days." Miller took a deep breath. This was the moment Earth Command had planned for. "Empress, surely there's no need for such threats. Humanity has never challenged Dominion authority in the galaxy." "Your very existence is a challenge," Vex hissed. "Your kind spreads too quickly, thinks too differently. Other species begin to question our rule after observing your independence. It cannot continue. I request time to bring your demands to Earth's government," Miller said, following the script he had memorized. "One rotation," the Empress repeated, "not a moment more. The decision is simple: surrender or destruction." The hologram vanished, leaving Miller standing alone in the chamber. A door slid open, and 2 Dominion guards entered to escort him back to his ship. As he walked through the massive Dominion flagship, Miller observed everything he could. The guards were large, nearly 8 feet tall, with the same scaled skin as their Empress. They carried energy weapons that could vaporize a human in seconds. Other crew members moved with purpose through the corridors, none giving the human diplomat more than a passing glance. They thought humans were no threat. That was exactly what Earth needed them to think. Miller's small diplomatic vessel waited in the docking bay. Once aboard, he nodded to his pilot, Tom Reed, who immediately began launch procedures. "How did it go?" Reed asked quietly as the ship detached from the Dominion vessel. "Exactly as expected," Miller replied. "They're overconfident. They believe their intelligence is perfect." The small ship moved away from the massive Dominion flagship. At over 3 miles long, it dwarfed anything in the human fleet, the official human fleet at least. Once they were clear of immediate Dominion sensors, Miller went to the secure communications room. He pressed his palm against a scanner, then leaned close for a retinal scan. The system hummed, then opened a quantum-encrypted channel that not even the Dominion could detect or decode. Admiral Helen Davis appeared on the screen. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her weathered face showed the strain of recent weeks. As head of Earth's Defense Force, she had been preparing for this moment for decades. "It's time," Miller said simply. Davis nodded, her expression grim but determined. "Operation Shadow Fleet is go. Get back to Earth space immediately. We'll need you for the next phase." "Were they convinced?" she asked. Miller allowed himself a small smile. "Completely. They think we have 200 ships exactly as we've let them believe. They have no idea what's waiting." "Good," Davis replied. "Safe journey, Captain." The communication ended, and Miller leaned back in his chair. Humanity had spent 30 years building their real fleet in secret. While showing the galaxy a small force of 200 ships, they had constructed thousands more in hidden facilities deep within the atmospheres of gas giants, places the Dominion sensors couldn't penetrate, ships with technology the Dominion couldn't imagine. For 3 decades, Earth had maintained the appearance of a minor power while preparing for this inevitable day. The Dominion had conquered 17 other species. Humanity would not be the 18th. Reed's voice came through the intercom. "Captain, we have Dominion ships following at a distance." "Standard procedure," Miller confirmed. "Let them follow. When we reach the jump point, execute emergency pattern Delta." "Understood, sir." Emergency pattern Delta would make it appear that their ship was rushing home in panic. Exactly what the Dominion would expect from a species that had just received an ultimatum. Miller stared out at the stars. In less than 24 hours, the Dominion would learn that humanity was not what they seemed. The thought of Empress Vex's face when she realized the truth brought him a moment of satisfaction, but that feeling quickly faded. What was coming would change the galaxy forever. Thousands might die, or millions, unless humanity's plan worked perfectly. As his ship accelerated toward Earth space, Miller closed his eyes and hoped that 30 years of deception would be enough to prevent a war that neither side could truly win. But if war came anyway, humanity was ready. The Empress's war chamber, Empress Vex, paced across the polished black floor of her war chamber. Her clawed feet clicked with each step, echoing in the vast room. Around a large holographic table stood her top military commanders, their scaled bodies tense as they waited for her next words. "Show me the human defenses again," she ordered. Commander Krell touched a control, and the 3-dimensional map of human space appeared above the table. Earth glowed at the center, surrounded by its colonies. Small blue dots marked the positions of the human fleet. Exactly 200 ships spread thin across their territory. "Their deadline expires in 1 hour, Empress," Krell said. "They have made no attempt to contact us. No surrender." Vex's mouth twisted into what passed for a smile among her kind. "As expected. Humans are proud for such a young species." She turned to her intelligence officer. "Your reports are certain? They have no hidden forces?" Intelligence officer Mox bowed low. "Absolutely certain, Your Eminence. We have monitored human space for 50 years. Their military budget, their shipyards, their resource allocation. All of it confirms a fleet of exactly 200 vessels. They cannot hide such things from Dominion intelligence." Vex nodded, satisfied. The Dominion had conquered 17 other species over 10,000 years. None had stood against them for long. Humans would be no different despite their reputation for cleverness. "Begin the attack sequence," she commanded. "Target their outer colonies first. Show them the price of defiance." Commander Krell moved to obey but stopped suddenly, his eyes fixed on the display. "Your Eminence," he said, his voice uncertain. "We detect unusual energy signatures from the gas giants in 3 human systems." "Explain," Vex demanded. "Jupiter, in their home system, Titan near their Alpha Centauri colony, and the gas giant orbiting Epsilon Eridani," Krell reported. "Deep scans show disturbances in the upper atmospheres." Vex dismissed this with a flick of her taloned hand. "Their pathetic attempts at deception. Weather control, perhaps, to try to confuse our sensors. Begin the attack." Wait. Officer Mox cried out suddenly, his eyes wide as he studied his data screen. Massive power spikes detected in all gas giants across human territory. The holographic display flickered. Then, impossibly, new contacts began to appear. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of new ships emerging from within the gas giants of every human system. The room fell silent as the Dominion commanders stared in disbelief. The new vessels were unlike any known human design. Sleek, dark and radiating power signatures that rivaled Dominion dreadnoughts. Impossible, Krell exclaimed, breaking the silence. Where did they hide such a fleet? Vex stared at the display, her 4 yellow eyes blinking rapidly. Count them, she ordered, her voice low and dangerous. Officer Mox worked frantically at his console. 3,147 vessels, Empress. Still more emerging. Impossible, Vex roared, slamming her fist on the table. No species could hide such a force from us. Your intelligence has failed, Mox. The intelligence officer trembled. Empress, we monitored their shipyards, their resource allocation. You monitored what they wanted you to see, Vex snarled. She turned to Krell. Analysis of these ships. Now, Krell studied the incoming data. Unknown design. Power readings exceed our battlecruisers. Hull composition. We cannot identify the material. They appear to be using some form of gravity. Manipulation for propulsion. As they watched, the human ships formed precise formations throughout their territory. Not the chaotic scramble of a force hastily assembled, but the disciplined movement of a fleet that had trained for this moment. How long? Vex asked quietly. How long have they been building this force? Based on the number of vessels, decades, Empress, Krell replied. Perhaps 30 years. 30 years of deception, Vex whispered. Then her face contorted with rage. Open a channel to their command. The holographic display shifted, and Admiral Helen Davis appeared. The human woman sat calmly in what appeared to be a command center, her gray hair pulled back, her uniform crisp. Empress Vex, Davis said with a small nod. I see you've noticed our defense force. What treachery is this? Vex demanded, rage evident in her bared teeth and flared neck crest. You concealed your true military strength. Not treachery, Davis replied calmly. Prudence. The Dominion has a history of conquering species that cannot defend themselves. We simply ensured we could. Your diplomatic vessel has just returned to Earth. Commander Krell reported quietly to Vex. Captain Miller is aboard their command station. As if hearing this, the view widened to show Captain Miller standing beside Admiral Davis. He had changed from his diplomatic uniform to a military one. Empress, Miller said, for 30 years your intelligence services saw exactly what we wanted them to see. A small fleet, limited technology. While we built our real forces in places your sensors couldn't penetrate. The gas giants, Vexy growled. The storms and radiation. Miller nodded. Perfect cover for our shipyards. Your sensors couldn't see through the atmospheric interference. We built our fleet in plain sight, yet completely hidden. Vex's claws dug into the edge of the table. You will regret this deception, humans. The Dominion fleet still outnumbers yours. We have 5,000 ships to your 3,000. Quality matters as much as quantity, Empress, Admiral Davis replied. And there's something else you should know. The display changed to show a close-up of one of the human vessels. It was dark, almost black with sleek lines and no visible weapons. Our ships don't use the same technology as yours, Davis explained. We took a different path. While you focused on plasma weapons and particle shields, we developed gravity, manipulation, and dimensional phasing. Dimensional phasing? Krell whispered, his scientific curiosity briefly overcoming his alarm. That's theoretical. Not for us, Miller said. Not anymore. Vex slammed her hand on a control, cutting the transmission. She turned to her commanders, rage radiating from her scaled body. Prepare the fleet, she ordered. All of it. We will crush these deceptive humans and make an example of them that the galaxy will never forget. Empress, Krell said cautiously, perhaps we should reconsider. If their technology is truly as advanced as they claim, are you afraid, Commander? Vex hissed. Krell straightened. No, Empress, but I recommend caution. We should test their capabilities first with a smaller force. Vex considered this, her rage gradually cooling into calculated malice. Yes, a test. She pointed to the display where the human ships continued to take formation. Send the first attack fleet to their outermost colony. Let us see if these mysterious ships can actually fight. As her commanders rushed to obey, Vex stared at the frozen image of Miller and Davis on the screen. For 30 years, the humans had deceived the mighty Dominion. For 30 years, they had prepared in secret. You have played a dangerous game. Humans, she whispered to the silent image. Now we shall see who truly rules the stars. The human fleet, revealed Admiral Helen Davis, stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, the flagship of Earth's hidden fleet. The ship hummed with power as it held position near Earth's moon. Through the large view screen, she could see hundreds of the sleek, dark vessels that humanity had built in secret over 3 decades. Captain James Miller stood beside her, still, adjusting to being back in a military uniform after years of diplomatic work. Around them, the bridge crew worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. Admiral, called the sensor officer, a young woman named Lisa Park. All ships reporting ready. Total count, 3,247 vessels awaiting your command. Davis nodded, her face calm despite the weight of the moment. 30 years of planning, building, and training had led to this. The greatest deception in human history was now fully revealed. The Dominion will not take this well, Miller said quietly. They were never going to, Davis replied. From the moment they discovered humanity, they marked us for conquest. We just refused to be easy prey. The communications officer turned from his station. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Empress. On screen, Davis ordered. The image of Empress Vex appeared, her scaled face twisted with rage. The bony crest on her head was fully extended, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. Humans, she snarled. What treachery is this? You concealed your true military strength. Davis met the alien ruler's gaze steadily. We revealed exactly what we wanted you to see, Empress. The Dominion has conquered 17 species in the past 10,000 years. We studied those conquests carefully. You target weak civilizations, or those that appear weak. So you deceived us, Vex hissed. We survived, Davis corrected. Your empire has a clear pattern. You send spies and observers first. You assess potential targets for years. If they seem unable to defend themselves, you conquer them. If they seem strong, you leave them alone. Miller stepped forward. I spent 7 years as a diplomat to your court, Empress. I saw how you treated species you deemed weak. We knew our time would come. Vex's yellow eyes narrowed. How did you hide such a fleet? Our sensors mapped every inch of your territory. Davis allowed herself a small smile. Not every inch. Gas. Giants like Jupiter and Saturn have powerful magnetic fields and constant storms. Perfect cover for our hidden shipyards. Your sensors couldn't penetrate them. We built our real fleet where you couldn't see. On a secondary screen, Davis could see tactical data showing a Dominion battle group approaching humanity's outermost colony. Just as Earth Command had predicted, the Empress was sending a small force to test humanity's capabilities. It changes nothing, Vex declared. The Dominion still has more ships, more experience. We have ruled the stars for 10,000 years while your kind was still using stone tools. Numbers aren't everything, Davis replied, and experience can breed overconfidence. Your ships may be numerous, but they are untested, Vex said dismissively. Mine have conquered countless worlds. Then I suppose we'll find out soon enough, Davis said, nodding toward the tactical display showing the approaching Dominion ships. Your attack force will reach our colony at New Horizon within the hour. Vex's expression shifted slightly, surprised that the humans had detected her ship so easily. We would still prefer peace to war, Empress, Miller added. Even now. The galaxy is vast. There's room for both our civilizations. Peace? Vex scoffed. After this deception? The Dominion does not share power. Your choice remains the same. Surrender or destruction. The transmission ended abruptly. Davis turned to her crew. They're not backing down. Signal Battle Group Alpha to defend New Horizon Colony. Execute Operation First Strike. As orders went out across the human fleet, Miller looked at Davis with concern. The Dominion attack force consists of 200 ships, their newest and best. Are you sure Alpha Group can handle them alone? Davis nodded confidently. Alpha Group has 50 of our Phantom-class vessels. More than enough. It's time to show the Empress what our ships can really do. The Battle of New Horizon far from Earth at the edge of human space. The colony of New Horizon orbited a distant star. It was humanity's newest settlement, home to just 50,000 people. Above the blue-green world, 20 Dominion battlecruisers and 180 support ships appeared from faster-than-light travel. Commander Trey Bennett of the UES Ghost watched from the bridge of his Phantom-class vessel as the Dominion ships formed attack positions. Around him, 49 similar human ships waited in perfect formation. They were smaller than the massive Dominion battlecruisers, but their dark hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Enemy ships launching fighters, reported his tactical officer. They're beginning their attack run on the colony. Bennett nodded calmly. Activate dimensional phase shields. Bring gravity weapons online. Let's show them what these ships can do. Across the human formation, the dark ships began to glow with a subtle blue light along their hulls. On the lead Dominion battlecruiser, Commander Rollick watched with contempt as his forces moved toward the human colony. The strange human ships were holding position, making no attempt to intercept. Pathetic, he said to his second-in-command. They don't even try to protect their colony. Sir, called his sensor officer with concern, I'm detecting strange energy readings from the human vessels. What kind of... Before Rollick could finish his question, the human ships vanished. Where did they go, he demanded. Unknown, Commander. They've disappeared from all sensors. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Dominion ship. 5 human vessels appeared directly alongside Rollick's battlecruiser, impossibly close within his shields. How did they... Rollick began, but his words were cut short as blue beams of energy shot from the human ships. The beams didn't explode or burn. Instead, they distorted space itself around the Dominion vessels. Gravity pulled in impossible directions. 3 Dominion cruisers were crushed into twisted metal. 2 more spun helplessly as their artificial gravity reversed. Across the battlefield, the human ships blinked in and out of normal space, appearing inside the defensive formations of the Dominion fleet. Their gravity weapons didn't need to penetrate shields. They warped space-time itself. On the UES Ghost, Commander Bennett watched as the Dominion forces tried desperately to counter their attack. But the Dominion ships were fighting an enemy they couldn't track, using weapons designed for a type of warfare that humans had moved beyond. Sir, his communications officer reported, the Dominion commander is broadcasting a retreat signal. Bennett nodded. Let them go. Our orders are to defend the colony, not pursue. As the surviving Dominion ships fled into faster-than-light travel, Bennett opened a channel to Earth Command. Admiral Davis appeared on screen. Report, Commander, she ordered. Complete. Success, Admiral, Bennett replied. The dimensional phase technology worked perfectly. They couldn't track us, couldn't hit us. Their shields were useless. We neutralized 47 enemy ships. No casualties on our side. The remaining Dominion vessels are retreating. Davis nodded, satisfaction in her eyes. Well done, Commander. Return to defensive positions. This was just their first test. The real battle is yet to come. As Bennett's crew celebrated their victory, he knew the Admiral was right. They had surprised the Dominion today, but the Empress would not take this defeat lightly. The true test of humanity's deception and their new technology was still to come. The Dominion's response, Empress Vex's war chamber, had gone silent. The holographic display showed the devastating defeat of her attack force at the human colony. Of the 200 ships she had sent, less than half had returned, many of those badly damaged. Impossible, Commander Krell whispered, breaking the silence. How could they defeat our best ship so easily? Vex's rage had cooled into something more dangerous, a cold, calculating fury. "Show me the battle recordings again," she ordered. The display changed to show the battle from multiple angles. The strange human ships disappeared from normal space, then reappeared inside Dominion formations. Blue beams distorted space itself, crushing Dominion vessels without ever touching their shields. "Analysis," Vex demanded. Science Officer Lawrence stepped forward nervously. "Based on the recordings, Empress, the humans appear to have mastered dimensional phasing. They can shift their ships between dimensions, allowing them to bypass our shields entirely." "And these weapons?" Vex pointed to the blue beams. "Gravity manipulation," Lauren explained. "They don't attack our ships directly. They warp gravity around them. No shield can block that." Vex's claws tapped on the table's surface. "Can we copy this technology?" "Not quickly," Lauren admitted. "Their approach is completely different from our own. They've taken a path of development we never explored." "Then we will crush them with numbers," Vex declared. "Prepare the main fleet. All 5,000 ships. We will overwhelm these humans with the full might of the Dominion." Commander Krell shifted uncomfortably. "Empress, perhaps we should consider their offer of peace. If their technology is this advanced—" Vex spun toward him, her neck crest fully extended in rage. "Peace? After they humiliated the Dominion, after they made fools of us all? No. They will be destroyed. And you will lead the attack, Commander." Krell bowed low. "As you command, Empress." The greater plan aboard. The UES Defiance, Admiral Davis and Captain Miller watched the tactical display as the remaining Dominion ships retreated from New Horizon Colony. "They'll be back," Miller said quietly, "and in much greater numbers." Davis nodded. "We're counting on it. That's why we revealed our fleet now rather than waiting longer." Miller looked confused. "I don't understand." "Walk with me," Davis said, leading him from the bridge into a private meeting room. Once the door closed, Davis activated a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. "The Dominion has ruled through fear for too long. Other species suffer, under their control. We've been in secret contact with 7 of them over the past decade." Green dots appeared across the display, marking worlds far from Earth. The Arcturans, the Vega Collective, the free systems of Riel, Davis pointed to, all waiting for someone to stand against the Dominion. But none have the technology or numbers to do it alone. Miller began to understand. So our battle at New Horizon was broadcast across the galaxy. Exactly. Every species under Dominion rule saw what happened today. They saw that the mighty Dominion fleet could be defeated. For the first time in 10,000 years, they have hope. Davis manipulated the display, showing communication channels stretching across space. "We're already receiving messages. The Arcturans are mobilizing their defense forces. The Vega Collective is preparing to declare independence. 3 other species have asked for our technical assistance." "You're starting a rebellion," Miller realized. "We're finishing one that began the moment the Dominion chose conquest over cooperation," Davis corrected. "Humanity was never going to face them alone, James. We were going to make sure no one ever had to again." The display showed new fleet markers appearing throughout the galaxy, dozens of species preparing to throw off Dominion rule. "The Empress thinks she's facing just humanity," Davis said with a smile. "She has no idea what's really coming." As if summoned by her words, alerts began sounding throughout the ship. The communications officer's voice came over the intercom. "Admiral to the bridge. Priority transmission from the Empress." Davis and Miller returned to find Empress Vex's image filling the main screen, her rage palpable even across the vast distance. "Humans," she snarled. "You think your victory changes anything? The full Dominion fleet approaches. 5,000 ships that will turn your worlds to ash." "Your fleet won't be enough, Empress," Davis replied calmly, "because you're not just fighting humanity anymore." The tactical display behind Davis shifted to show the galaxy-wide view. Hundreds of new fleet markers appeared. Arcturan battle, groups, Vega Collective strike forces, and vessels from a dozen other species. What you're seeing, Davis continued, is every species you've conquered or threatened over the past 10,000 years. They've been waiting for someone to prove the Dominion could bleed. Today we did that. Vex's 4 eyes widened as she processed the scope of what was happening. Impossible. Our intelligence would have detected such coordination. Your intelligence saw what it expected to see, Miller said, stepping forward. Just like it did with our fleet. While you focused on maintaining control through fear, we built something you never understood. Hope. The Empress's image flickered, with interference as her ship's systems tried to process the massive amount of communication traffic now filling the galaxy. This changes nothing, Vex roared. The Dominion has ruled for 10 millennia. We will crush this rebellion as we have crushed countless others. The difference, Davis said quietly, is that this time the rebels have a chance to win. The transmission cut out, leaving the Bridge of the Defiance in contemplative silence. Admiral, the communications officer reported, we're receiving coordination requests from 47 different species. They want to synchronize their attacks with our operations. Davis nodded. Send them our tactical protocols. It's time to show the galaxy what freedom looks like. As orders flowed across space to species that had dreamed of liberation for centuries, Miller realized the true scope of humanity's 30-year deception. They hadn't just built a hidden fleet, they had built a hidden alliance that spanned the stars. The Stellar Dominion had ruled through fear and isolation, keeping conquered species separated and hopeless. But humanity had done something the Dominion thought impossible. They had given the galaxy a reason to unite. The war that was coming wouldn't just determine humanity's fate, it would reshape the balance of power across the stars. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the outcome was far from certain. Epilogue. The galaxy awakens as news of the Battle of New Horizons spread across the galaxy. The carefully maintained order of the Stellar Dominion began to crack. On. World after world, species that had lived under Dominion rule for millennia looked up at the stars and dared to hope. The Empress Vex's fleet was indeed mighty. 5,000 ships representing 10,000 years of conquest and technological development. But approaching from every corner of the galaxy were the combined forces of 47 species, united by a shared desire for freedom and armed with the most advanced dimensional phasing technology the galaxy had ever seen. The war that followed would be remembered as the moment the galaxy chose cooperation over conquest, hope over fear. And it all began with humanity's greatest deception, appearing weak while growing strong, seeming isolated while building alliances, and convincing their enemies that they were nothing more than another species to be conquered. The Stellar Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, but they had never faced an enemy like this, not just humanity, but the combined will of every species that refused to bow to tyranny. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see which vision of the future would prevail. The Dominion's empire of fear, or humanity's dream of a galaxy where every species could determine its own destiny. The greatest deception in galactic history was complete. Now came the greatest test. Could the forces of freedom defeat 10 millennia of imperial might? The answer would reshape the galaxy forever.